shortly, but please make yourselves at home and start introducing yourselves on the chat function if you can. Say hi, and we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for people to join. So nice to see everyone. Hey, Pradeep. Hi. Let me know if you can hear me okay. If there's any audio issues. Hey, Julia. Hey, Miguel. Hi, Gainer. Yeah, we'll just wait a couple of minutes for people to join. I'm aware that it's just turned 3 o'clock, so we'll just give people a couple of minutes to join, grab their coffee or their or their tea wherever they are. And we'll get going in a minute. We have quite a few attendees today, so we'll just give everyone a chance to come in, sort any technical issues they might have, and then we'll get going. Lots of people from all around the world. That's good. It's really nice to see. Hey, Amy. We'll wait one more minute until 2 minutes past, and we can then get cracking. Okay, we're nearly ready. We'll just wait for the last few people to come in. And hey, Pina. Right, more good morning messages than good evening messages, I think tends to be the consensus. Okay, well, I think we'll get cracking. It's 2 minutes past the hour, and we've got a busy hour and a half for you. So we shall get cracking. So thanks everyone for joining, and welcome to Accufest 2021. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Simon Boisseau. I'm the Managing Director at Accucoms. I'm based in the UK. In a place called Reading, which is west of London, and I'll do a quick introduction to the event before handing over to the rest of the team for the main presentations. Just to make everyone aware, we are recording the session, and we will make that recording available on the Accucoms website after the event for everyone, and feel free to share that with your colleagues as well. So for those of you that have never attended an Accufest before, I'll give a little background to what it is and why we're here today. So essentially, Accufest has been running for 8 years now, and it's usually held in Frankfurt in Germany on the Monday before Frankfurt Book Fair. But for the second year, we decided to run the event virtually again. And this was mainly because many of our colleagues and friends from the US are still unable to travel internationally. So we thought it was fair to everyone to host it virtually again this year. And at its core, Accufest is really about updating publishers with what's happening in the local markets around the world. Our focus is to highlight the opportunities and the challenges faced mainly by societies and smaller independent publishers as they look to increase their profile, their brand, and ultimately their revenues internationally. We hope this information brings you closer to your customers, whether that's libraries, consortia, end users of your content and products. And I hope it showcases the deep relationships that Accucoms has in these markets and the work that we're doing on your behalf. So in an effort to better understand the way that the pandemic has changed librarians' behavior, we've been conducting a survey over the last couple of months. And while we're still crunching some of that data, I'm pleased that today we will share some of the preliminary findings with you. And then in order to shake things up further, we're pleased to bring you presentations and messages from 3 notable librarians and consortia heads, as well as an update on India's One Nation, One Subscription initiative. Accufest has always been about delivering the latest territory information and practical advice, and hopefully we'll have something relevant to help you plan for 2022. In a moment, I'll introduce David Hawkey, who will be guiding us through today's event. I would encourage you to use the chat function to ask as many questions as we go along. We'll try to make time for as many questions as possible at the end of the main sessions, so please don't be shy. Please put all your questions in the chat. And again, please bear with us if there are any connection issues. We've assembled a diverse panel of speakers, and we're using some pre-recorded presentations just to be on the safe side, but several of our speakers are dialing in from all around the world. You have the ability to book one-on-one sessions with any of our local teams, and I encourage you to do so if you haven't already. And we will circulate a list of territory-specific contacts after the event, so you know who to get in touch with. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce David Hawkey to you, who will guide us through the rest of the presentations. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Simon, and hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm David Hawkey, Accum's Commercial Manager for Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, and I have the pleasure of chairing this year's virtual Accufest. Many of you have attended our last year's online event and as such are familiar with the format. Yes, once again, and as suggested by Simon, we have tried to make it a little different than last year by trying to find the topics which we thought would be the most interesting for you, our dear attendees. Based on that, we'll be hearing from some of our key customers and also have several or 2 internal speakers on the agenda. As you can see on the slide, we have 5 speakers over today overall. When all the speeches are finished, there will be a Q&A session. We'd like to invite you, again, as mentioned, to post your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer as many as we can during the Q&A session at the end. Unfortunately, some of the speakers cannot be with us live today, but the respective sales managers will try to answer your questions on their behalf, on behalf of those customers, as best as they can. And similarly to last year, we'll be posting replies to the questions which we were unable to get to. These will be posted on our website, and everyone will be notified. So without further ado, let me introduce Erika Ellenbos, who is our project manager for market research and outreach campaigns. She has an interesting presentation based on a library survey, which has been carried out by Accum recently, and will be able to share with us the first outcomes. Over to you, Erika.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Erika Eilenbaas, and I am the project manager at Accum, and I'm calling here from Delft in the Netherlands. It's a pleasure being here tonight. This morning, of this afternoon for some of you. And I would like to share with you some findings, the preliminary findings of the survey campaign that we conducted this summer. I want to start off saying that I'm thankful that you are all here, and I hope you are all in good health, given the challenging times that we had behind us and some of you are still facing. So this survey was conducted because we listened to your concerns on how the libraries post-pandemic look like and what we can expect for the coming years after these challenging moments that we have all lived. So starting, I will share with you how this survey was carried out. So it was an extensive survey that we did between August and September of this year to investigate how the library post-pandemic looks like and what the future holds. We started off by trying to understand what changes is the library facing towards the end of the COVID-19 pandemic regarding, first of all, the budget allocation and cuts, the work environment, and the collection acquisition. Based on this, we also want to learn how these changes following the pandemic affect the perception of the librarians regarding the society publishers and transformative deals and other open access models. This survey was conducted in 6 markets. We had Europe, Asia Pacific, Turkey, India, Latin America, and Brazil. There was a total of 240 respondents, and all around we had 40 countries participating on this survey, and it was translated in 7 languages. Here you can see that although Turkey and Brazil are a country within a territory, we are following our experience, they are a market in itself. That's why you see this as a different market. During this survey, unfortunately, surprisingly, we did not have many responses in North America and China. So we are planning to conduct a follow-up campaign and survey covering these territories. Our main goal was to reach the decision makers to understand a little bit more, especially about the budget. So we tried to reach the decision maker regarding the library budget allocation. So we had a total of 71% of all respondents that were the decision makers, mainly library directors and senior librarians. We started the survey trying to understand how the work environment looks like. I'm sure that most of you have experienced some difficulties reaching out to librarians because most of us were working remotely as well the librarians. So we want to understand what can we expect for the future, how this contact will be with the librarians. What we learned here is, according to the survey, is that in Europe, Asia Pacific, and Brazil, about 50% of the librarians will return full-time to physical library. In Turkey and in India, Turkey with 85% and India with 75%, they are the markets that registered the highest number of librarians returning full-time to the physical library. And comparing with all markets that we have surveyed, Latin America is the only one where most librarians will be working partially from home. This is the expectation for the next year. We went on to understand a little bit about the budget, especially the collection budget. So we start off by asking how this collection budget looks like this year in 2021, if the collection budget has increased, decreased, or maybe remained the same as last year and before the pandemic. What we see here is that Turkey and India, they reported the highest share of institutions that increased the collection budget this year. Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Brazil were the markets most affected this year, and on average, 47% of the institutions faced a decrease in the collection budget. In Europe, the budget in most of the institutions that we served, a total of 61%, remained unchanged comparing with the period before pandemic. We also want to understand what we should expect for next year regarding the collection budget. So what we note here, what the survey shows, is that India and Turkey, they expect an increase in 62% of the institutions on average. And although Latin America, I showed in the slide before this one, they had registered a budget increase this year in only 13% of the institutions. But next year, 47% of the institutions in Latin America expect an increase in the budget. In Brazil, they anticipate that 50% of the institutions will face a collection budget decrease. And in Asia Pacific, predicts that the collection budget for 2022 should decrease in 39% of the institutions. In Europe, again, we have the 41% they forecast no budget change next year. The findings for this year is that 61% had no budget change. Here we had a comparison just to put next to the years next to each other, 2021 versus 2022. In all regions, we have noticed that a higher number of institutions that they forecast an increase in the collection budget in 2022 compared to 2021. And here you can see all the regions, but especially with Latin America and India, we have the most institutions expecting that the budget will be increased next year. We also want to understand how this material budget is spent this year and also in the next year. What is the forecast? Here we asked about e-journals and databases, e-books, print journals, print books, and other types of materials. And we asked each respondent what was the percentage that they spent in each one of these materials. What the survey shows is that Europe, 64% spends most of its materials budget in e-journals and databases, followed by Turkey, 63%, and Asia Pacific, 54%. In Brazil, only 19% is dedicated to e-journals and databases, and probably this is because most of the content in Brazil is provided by the national consortium, Accufest. And Brazil also registered the highest share of budget dedicated to e-books, 36%, and print books, 31%. Overall, a relatively big share of the materials budget is still spent in print, considering journals and books as well. They combined are above 30% of the budget in almost all regions that we surveyed, except in Turkey. So here we want to understand, what do they expect? What's going to happen in the next 5 years with this material budget? How this share will look like? So here, respondents expect a small decrease in spending on print journals and books in 5 years. This in 2021, it was 31%, and it will go down to 27% in 5 years. And overall, spending on e-journals, databases, and e-books will increase by 2% in 5 years. So we have not noticed any big change comparing this year with the coming 5 years. The budget here, we try to understand how the librarian is spending regarding digital services and resources during the pandemic. We want to learn if they have increased what they used to spend before the pandemic and after the pandemic, if there is any link between those. And what the survey shows here is that the pandemic has led 78% of all surveyed librarians to invest more in digital services and resources. And on average, 76% have invested more in databases, ebooks, and e-journals, while 14% in digital library services, such as library systems, digitalization, clouding, hosting, websites, social media, and especially remote solutions. This was a new need for the market, that they have to spend some of the budget purchasing that. And here we asked about if they intend to keep investing more in digital services and resources even after the pandemic. What we noted here is that 70% of all librarians will keep investing more in those digital services and resources even after the pandemic. On average, 82% intend to invest in databases, ebooks, and e-journals, while 80% will invest in digital library services, such as reference platforms, digital common platform, discovery services, and again, remote access services. Here you see both charts. So the first one was regarding the question if they want to invest more in digital services in the long run, even after the pandemic. So you see on in orange here, vast majority respond to yes. And following that, we asked how do they want to spend this extra budget. And then you see the result on the second chart. What we also want to understand is more regarding the society publishers. What is the space that there is for society publishers after the pandemic and all changes that are happening now? We asked if they were planning, if those librarians were planning to cancel major journals or packages or any big deals this year or next years. What we note here, you see the first chart. You can see in orange the respondents, the percentage of respondents that do intend to cancel the journals. So you see here Turkey with 36%, and Asia Pacific with 33%. Again, Brazil, we have not registered any intent to cancel these big deals or big journals. Again, because normally those big deals are done by the national consortium, so it's already included in the consortium deal they have. And following those librarians that respond that they do intend to cancel major journals, we ask them if canceling these journals of big deals, if these leave room to consider society publishers. And the answer was really positive. The majority will consider the society publishers then. You can see in orange all that respond yes, and only Turkey is 50%. For the other regions, the vast majority do intend to consider the society publishers. Based on that, still following the society publishers thread, what we try to learn here is if the usage of society titles during the pandemic has changed. So what the survey shows is that most respondents in Turkey, around 70%, Brazil with 56%, and Latin America with 54%, they noticed an increase in the usage of society titles during the pandemic. On average, more than 50% reported an increase in usage, while 19%, the usage remained the same as before the pandemic. Overall, only 6% on average saw a decrease in usage. Moving on to the space that open access has in the new reality during and after pandemic, we want to understand the librarian's view on transformative deals after the pandemic, and we have really interesting and exciting news to share. So the survey shows that most librarians, 60% to be precise, changed their view on transformative deals after the pandemic. In Latin America and India, this represents over 70% of the librarians. In Europe, has the lowest rate of institutions that have changed their view on transformative deals, probably because the transformative deals and open access conversations are going on for a while here in Europe. But in Italy alone, almost 60% changed their view after the pandemic. Here, we understood that most librarians have changed their views on transformative deals, but we want to understand who is actively exploring those transformative deals. And overall, 71% of librarians are actively exploring transformative deals. And these numbers goes up to 87% in Brazil and Latin America. Of the respondents that have changed their view on transformative deals that I shared in the last slide, after the pandemic, 92% is now actively exploring these deals. Even among the respondents that have not changed their view during the pandemic, more than 55% is exploring deals. So here we note that librarians are, most of them, vast majority is, they are exploring open access transformative deals or other models. So we went on to understand if they are familiar with some open access models. Here we asked specifically about 3 open access models: the community action publishing, the read and publish model, and subscribe to open. And the survey shows that overall only 90% of librarians were familiar with these models. And of the respondents that were actively exploring the open access deals, almost 60% were not familiar at all. And in Europe, despite the open access advance that I mentioned before, 65% were not familiar with these models. So we see a lot of room here to bring awareness about the models that are in place, and lots of opportunities regarding society, publishers, and open access. So understanding all that I have just shared with you regarding the work environment, budget, society, publishers, and also open access, we asked to all participants who holds this budget for open access to understand who are the players that we should be in contact with. And you see here a pie chart that represent all the territories, because we did not note any difference between the markets. There are in most of the case 3 main players. The first one with 40% is General Management Administration Dean's Office, that holds this budget for open access. In second place, you see here 26% is the library, so normally senior librarians, e-resources librarians, sometimes open access librarians if they are in place. And in third place, with 16% of the share, is the library director. Again, our findings were really, we were pleased to collect those preliminary findings, but we are working on a white paper that will be shared later this year with where you can find more details about this survey. But I want to thank you all for listening to the presentation, and I wish you that you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you. And I will pass on to David Horky now.
Okay, thank you very much, Erica. This indeed was very insightful. Moving on to the next speaker, we now have one of our esteemed customers, Dr. Gusun Güneş, who is the head of the Turkish ANKOS consortium. But before we hear from her, I will hand over to Regional Sales Manager for Turkey, Barış Yılmaz, who will introduce her in more detail. The floor is yours, sir.
Hello, everyone. This is Barış Yılmaz from Turkey. I'm dialing in from the capital, Ankara, as of now. So I will first introduce Dr. Gusun Güneş in my session, and then I will just briefly talk about the Turkey market. So Dr. Gusun Güneş graduated from the Library Science Division from Istanbul University in 1996. Receiving a master's degree in 1999 from the same university. Then she was granted a doctorate from the Marmara University in 2009 in Information and Records Management. She's worked at a Koç University Library for a period of time, and then came to Marmara University as an associate professor and also as the head of library. She currently teaches at Marmara University, Medipol University, and Medeniyet Universities. She has authored and published many academic articles, books, and conference papers. She is now the president of ANKOS for 3 years, and she will continue in her second term for another 3 years. So let's play her video, and then I'll be back here.
Hi, this is Dr. Gülsün Güneş. I'm the ANKOS president, which we call ANKOS Anadolu University Libraries Consortium. And one of the most important mission of information and documentation centers and libraries is provide and furnish the researcher and user with the information they need and their quest for access to scientific data. And on the other hand, our library budgets adequately equipped with the funds to invest in providing access and procuring the necessary resources. So in many countries in the world, libraries are faced with depleted budgetary resources and despite the high subscription costs demanded by publishers. The fundamental basis of forming a library consortium has been make use of economic methods of procurement of academic resources for information center as to create favorable and opportunities for user in research of information. So university libraries in Turkey have formed a strong alliance that has resulted in the collaboration of information center under the ANKOS. This organization was established through the initiative of universities in Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus in 2000 in an effort to join forces and raise their marketing power before the publishing houses in order to access information as economically as possible. And this alliance is one of the most notable consortium, we can say also. The consortium is a corporate entity that coordinates and collaborates with information centers through library administrators and electronic resources librarians, and conducting its activities under the umbrella of the ANKOS. So which works for the benefit of the public as a non-governmental organization. And ANKOS has worked both national and international consortium as association, engaged in national and international cooperative activities since 2012. We can say that the professional workforce of ANKOS is made up of a group of 45 volunteer librarians equipped with knowledge and competence in the area of information and documentation management, and who are fluent in foreign language, holders a graduate degree, and have worked and gained professional experience in internationally integrated workshop and research groups. I can say that, especially we can say for the last 2 years, we couldn't meet with our users as a librarians due to pandemics, but we provide them thousands of electronic resources online. So all the world closed the doors, but libraries didn't close the doors, and still we are providing many and millions electronic resources online. So this pandemic has shown us how important electronic resources are. However, another important effect of the pandemic is for Turkey, also all over the world, insufficient budgets, and especially for Turkey, the increase in exchange rate and also we are paying very high tax and VAT for electronic resources. So which it wasn't easy for us to provide more electronic resources for our user. And the nice thing that we are so pleased to meet you again at Uncle's Link meeting in November after 2 years face to face. So we are very honored to invite you to our meeting, Uncle's Link 2021. Hope to see you in Antalya in November 22nd to 25th. Stay well and see you in Antalya.
So we thank Dr. Gülsün Güneş for her video. As for the Turkey market brief, let me start first with the economy. As Ms. Güneş stated, the currency right now is the biggest problem Turkish libraries are facing. All of our libraries are getting their budgets in Turkish liras, but they spend it in foreign currencies. I'm sure you've all seen the increased budgets on Erika's presentation. But it's true that the budgets are increasing in Turkey, but the currency is increasing even more. As of today, both USD and Euro both have increased more than 25% just this year. In addition to this, the government has brought a new tax for library purchases. And libraries used to pay 1% purchase for everything, but now it's 18%. So all in all, economically, Turkey is facing a rough couple of years. But still, we are happy to start working as usual after the pandemic. As you know, Turkey market is very dependent on site visits and personal relationships with the librarians. We've already started our site visits, and most of the librarians are looking forward to seeing us. Despite the bad economic conditions, there are still lots of opportunities that we are willing to follow up. Lastly, as Ms. Güneş stated, Uncle's Link exhibition will be held physically between November 22nd and 25th in Antalya. We will be there to see all the librarians from Turkey. All the feedback we get from librarians that they are all anxious to go there. So yeah, they are looking forward to it as well. The good thing is this conference will be in November. Usually it's in April, but being in November means that all the decision making process could be happen during the conference. So yeah, it's good news for us and for you, I would say. So this is it for Turkey. Please let me know if you have any questions, or if you have any questions for Miss Güneş as well. Here are email addresses. She couldn't join today because she had a lesson, but she would be happy if you could, ask your questions for her email address on the bottom here. So thank you, everyone. So okay, David, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Güneş. Thank you very much, Barış. Interesting to hear from the important UNCOS consortium and about the Turkish market overall. Now we'll hear from another of our dear customers, Mrs. Yan Zhao of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, on progress of open access promotion in China. And before we hear from her, let me hand over to the regional manager, Ben Liang, who will introduce Mrs. Zhao. Ben, over to you.
access in the scholarly communication system, including leading Scope 3 working group in China, engaging more Chinese parties involved in OA 2020 initiative, implementing open access policies and transformative agreements in CAS. So she is also the member of both the Government Council and the Executive Committee of Scope 3. So we are absolutely delighted to have Ms. Zhao be our speaker this time. And she will talk about the OA progress in China. Here's her speak. Thank you.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Yan Zhao, here in National Science Library of Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing, China. I want to first thank Ben from Accufest for the invitation to speak in this event. It's an honor to be here with all the other speakers and the community with all of you. Now let me share my slides. Okay, today I'm going to talk about open access progress in China. I will be focusing on scholarly journals and articles open access, not including open books or other materials. China, or let's say a number of Chinese organizations, has long been active in promotion of open access. In 2004, CAS and NSFC formally signed the Berlin Declaration, which means the concept of open access has been officially accepted and started to put into practice in China. Since 2007, NSL started to develop institutional repositories in CAS, covered all of its more than 100 institutes. In 2015 and 2016, NSFC and Chinese Academic Library System completed the periodical construction of their repositories and started the service. Many of you may be known, but what I have still to mention here is, in 2014, CAS and NSFC released their open access policies almost at the same time. Both policies mandate that researchers in CAS or researchers who received NSFC's funding must deposit their papers into repositories and made it open access no later than 12 months after publication. It can be seen in this slide that before 2016, China's OA practice was mainly focused on green open access, which highlighted in green, and there were very limited attempts on gold open access, which is golden colored. The situation changed until 2017 or 2018. At the end of 2017, NSL of CAS signed the Expression of Interest of Open Access 2020 initiative as the first Chinese organization, followed by NSTL and a dozen institutes or universities from China. Inspired by OA 2020 initiative and the success of the first phase of Scope 3, which you have known is a pioneered project of new business model for open access publishing in high energy physics, more and more institutions in China began to think and discuss how they could transit scholarly journals from current subscription-based business model to an open access publishing model. Although many challenges from the policy environment, budget management, business negotiations, and even technical issues have been foreseen, we believe that the time is ripe for the global research community to accelerate the transition to open access. So at the end of 2018, CAS, NSFC, NSTL participate in the 14th Berlin Open Access Conference and made their statements of position on further promotion of open access. These statements not only show the attitude and the position towards promoting open access, but also put forward requirements and hopes according to the foreseen challenges. So in the statements, 3 organizations declare that in order to achieve the goal of transforming research papers funded by public funding into immediate open access, they support the efforts of OA 2020 and Plan S, and also they support a range of other flexible and inclusive measures. They demand that publishers should not increase their subscription prices. They require a standard and transparent mechanisms which could set up with caps on APCs. They also declared to support their libraries to build collaborative negotiation mechanisms to oppose double dipping, high APC pricing, particularly transformative proposal, which is seriously exceeding subscription-based cost. So in the past 3 years since Berlin 15th, my library, NSL, has always followed the directions and the principles indicated in the statement and actively promoted open access. Supported by both CAS and NSTL, NSL played the most active role in open access in China in these recent years. We carry out OA transition with publishers in various ways. In addition to offsetting APC funding and Scope 3, which the practices has begun several years before, we signed transformative agreements with Oxford University Press in 2020, and with ECM in this year. We also reached an S2O agreement with annual reviews in last year. In addition to the negotiation and the cooperation with publishers, we are aware that the role of policies and the opinions or attitudes from scholarly community are key to OA progress. Therefore, I lead a team to carry out open access policy-related research. This team gives policy support to CAS and NSTL, and also put forward policy suggestions to government departments and institutions. We provide training and consulting services on different topics of open access for librarians and researchers. In each year, about 15 events are organized, including seminars, workshops, both online or on-site. This approach enables us to timely understand the opinions and the reactions from different stakeholders, and in turn, they can assist us in the negotiation and cooperation with publishers. Besides NSL, as far as I know, some institutions and libraries in China have carried out such similar activities. For example, Shanghai Jiao Tong University has signed a transformative agreement with Cambridge University Press this year, and I know more institutions are negotiating with different publishers on that. So what I have talked is all about the progress of open access in China. At last, I want to spend some time talking about the challenges and the problems we have encountered in China. So, in my opinion, at present, the biggest challenge comes from two aspects. The first challenge is the guidance and the guaranteeing from high-level policies is far from enough. The practices in open access you have seen in my slides are spontaneous, tentative. It's kind of like a grassroots development. So we are still looking forward to more organizations, especially government department, to take actions. And the second challenge, I think, is from the business model. It's what I want to emphasize here because it not only affects open access development actions, but also affects policy making to a certain extent. At present, a certain number of libraries or institutions in China think that the implementation of open access transition has fallen into a trap of the publishers and has become a new tool for publishers to collect money, especially when we consider the context of the increasing number of papers from Chinese authors and the increasing price of APC fees. So the point of view that China will pay much more in open access model than in subscription model has become a matter that a certain number of people worried about. The opinions and the intention proposals from certain publishers are further strengthening such a concern. But for NSL and I personally have different views on this. Firstly, we believe that the more one country produces in terms of research papers, the more it contributes to publishing and helps the development of journals, but not the more money it has to pay. Secondly, we insist on the cost neutral as the primary principle of open access transformation. We can look at the recent University of California agreement with elsewhere. I think we already have an example of a research-intensive system in which the library subscription expenditure was not enough to cover the revenue expectations of the publisher for open access publishing. Thirdly, we continue to support the development of open repositories, as well as we require them to reduce the open access embargo to make the papers open access immediately. And at last, we still continue to support a wide range of flexible and inclusive measures to achieve the goal of making more research papers to be open access. So this concludes my talk. I hope it's helpful. I want to thank all of you and thank again for inviting me in participate in this event. My email is thehaoyan@mail.las.ec.cn. If you have any questions or feedback or comments, I'd love to hear. Have a nice day.
All right, that was Mrs. Zhou's presentation. Thank you very much, Mrs. Zhou. Really nice to have an opportunity to hear on open access developments in China. We have actually pre-recorded 3 questions for Mrs. Zhou, so I would like to play them to the audience now, as we are not sure whether she'll be able to make this session or not. So now we'll hear from her some more.
The first question for me is, the OA movement is gaining momentum in China, and we are seeing the first transformative deals coming through. What advice would you give to society publishers who are looking to negotiate transformative deals in China for the first time? As I said in my presentation, at present, institutions in China are making transition deals separately, so the factors each institution considered or the evaluation criteria for them or what they prefer for the transformative model are very different. So what I can see is from the experience of National Science Library. For National Science Library, we have reached 2 deals. One is with OUP, and the other one is with ECM. So when we considered a transformative deal, the primary principle is always cost neutral. So for those publishers or society publishers who are interested in discussing transformative agreement with CAS, sorry about that, but please keep this in mind. And after that, we will consider 3 indicators. They are the quantity of articles published by CAS authors in the publishers' journals. And the second indicator is these articles distribution in CAS institutes. And the third one is the APC pricing. So we would give priority to those publishers who can provide the data of these 3 indicators. Of course, if these 3 data are all moderate, I mean, now too high, now too low, there will be great opportunities for the cooperation. And finally, we look forward to working with all the publishers who have the suitable transition proposal for CAS. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
All right, that was the first question. And now let's now hear the second one and the response.
My question is, what do you hope to see in the next 5 to 10 years of open access in China? Oh, that's a good question. I really hope we can make some breakthroughs in OA in China in the next 5 to 10 years, both in policy and business model aspects. These are the 2 biggest challenges we are facing nowadays. So I think to achieve this goal, we need more organizations in China to participate in open access transition, such as funders, universities, research institutions, libraries, and also publishers. It needs more Chinese institutions of great ability to become pioneers and promoters in OA transition. I think CAS or NSL has taken the first step, and hopefully more and more institutions in China can join us.
Okay, great. And we have one more question.
The question for me is, what's your view on tendency of Chinese authors to publish with society publishers? As far as I know, the authors in China usually care more about the journal quality, regardless to which publisher it belongs, or the publisher is a society one or not. Since 2018, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Education, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and other 2 ministries have issued several documents to promote the implementation of the representative work evaluation system. That means under the guidance of this policy, Chinese authors will pay more attention to the quality, but not the quantity of their articles. Therefore, I think the publishers or the society publishers who are dedicating to improve the journal's quality will attract more articles from Chinese authors.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Zhou, for your presentation and answering these questions. indeed very interesting to hear about China and the market there. Moving on to the next presentation, we have another of our esteemed customers, Mrs. Paula Diaz, who is the head of acquisitions for the libraries of Universidad de Concepción on challenges and opportunities of library management after the pandemic. Let me now, before the speech, let me introduce my colleague, Anouk Snijders, who is the regional sales manager for the South American region, and she will introduce Paula to everyone. Over to you, Anouk.
Thank you, David. And hello, everyone. Really nice to see so many of you could join us today. For anyone who doesn't know me yet, I'm Anouk Snijders, the regional manager for Latin America. And I'm joining today from Costa Rica, Central America, which is where I'm based. And I'm really happy to be able to introduce our next speaker of today, our esteemed customer from South America, Paula Diaz Fuentes. She's the head of bibliographic acquisitions at the University of Concepción in Chile. A little bit of background information. Paula is a licensed librarian with a degree in documentation sciences from the University of Playa Ancha, also in Chile. She also holds a Master of Science in Education with a major in Didactics and Pedagogical Innovation, as well as a Diploma in Direction and Management of Information Units. Paula has a total of 16 years of experience working in university libraries, of which 12 years in the area of acquisitions and collection development. And as I mentioned, currently she's the head of acquisitions of the library system of the University of Concepción, one of the most important universities in Chile, where she has been developing a very interesting program of informational competencies for scientific productivity, which is aimed at postgraduate students at her university. So today, Paula is going to give us a little bit of background information on the University of Concepción, as well as on her library system. And as David mentioned, she's going to talk about the challenges and opportunities her library has been facing in the current situation we're in due to the pandemic. So now over to her presentation.
Hi everyone. My name is Paula Diaz, and I talk about our experience on this contingency period. First, I talk about the university. Universidad de Concepción is located 500 kilometers from Santiago, capital of Chile. It's the central campus of the University of Concepción, which began its academic activities in 1919. It presents itself as a center for creating knowledge, culture, science, technology, and research. It was the first university created in the south-central area of the country. He currently teaches 91 undergraduate degrees and 98 postgraduate programs. Biblioteca SUDEC, dependent on the Vice Provost, is 14 libraries and collections located on the Concepción, Chillán, and Los Angeles campuses. Our vision is to be a modern, innovative, and excellent university library with a highly motivated and updated team with a strong orientation toward users, thus fulfilling an essential role in the teach-learning processes, scientific production, and the bibliographic heritage of the university. Our mission is to facilitate access and use information to the university community through services and technologies that contribute to the teacher learning and research process, being a pillar in the preservation of the bibliographic heritage of the university. Our team, Biblioteca SUDEC, comprise 14 libraries, 12 on the Concepción campus and the other 2 on the Los Angeles and Chillán campuses. In our Concepción campus, we work 46 administrative and services, 14 librarians, and 7 other professionals. In Campo Chillán works 9 administrative and services, 4 librarians, and 1 other professionals. In Campus Los Angeles work 6 administrative and services and 2 librarians. Our collections, we have a wide variety of printed material, ranging from maps, press articles, rare and valuable books, classic books, textbooks, journals, manuscripts, and theses. And also have a large electronic collection composed of databases, books, and electronic journals. With this, we can highlight platforms developed by our teams, such our institutional repository, our data repository, our digital archive, the journal editing platform, and a platform of the history of our institution. For the challenge and opportunities, from our perspective, it wasn't easy to separate challenge from opportunities. Each situation presented to us as a difficulty has allowed us to improve, update, or reinvent ourselves, always bearing in mind that our primary focus is our users. In this way, we approach our primary effort on give continuity to library services in a digital environment, improve the communications with our users, benefits from social media, mark our presence as library that the benefit of the university community, having all our library staff as tutors of some faculty, reinvent our work oriented toward users, care in a digital environment, migrate to a new library management system, more modern and adaptable to electronic management. Folio was the selected solution as it responds to the principal axis that we are developing as a library. Respond to the new needs of researchers through the implementation of data repositories such as Database. We had received this concern from our researchers, so much so it was a challenge that we decided to take on as an opportunity to acquire new skills and offer new services. Establish collaboration ties with internal units focused on professors, researchers, and students. Part of improving communication with our environment also focus on optimizing access to communication channels. In this way, we generate connection with internal units to reach target audience. And finally, create the information literacy program for undergraduate and graduate students. This emerging from responding to the need of the student to have more certainty regarding access and use of information, and formalizing this program has allowed us to insert ourselves in a better way in the academic field. This was our principles, challenge, and opportunity for this period. I'm very glad to be here with you, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula, for the interesting presentation. Thank you very much, Anouk, for introducing. Just a reminder to the audience, please do not hesitate to post your questions in the chat box for our speakers. And now we will move on to our regional sales manager for India, our commercial manager for India, Yogesh Sopi, who will provide us his Indian consortia update. Over to you, Yogesh.
It is wonderful to meet you all virtually in Accufest 2021. It is a time of a year which provides us an opportunity to meet you and share the updates for our country and our regions. So today I'll be the changes, few of our developments in last two to 3 years. Now, India have more of a consortia and national consortia, and we have state consortia as well. To start with, we have various national consortia. I have listed some of them. And to start with, Ishot Sindhu is the one, which is the oldest consortia in India. It is 20 years old and it has been run by an expertise from InfluNet Center. They have the experience and expertise to manage the consortia. They are providing access to universities, technical institutions, and management institutions, centrally funded, and some are self-funded institutions as well. They are providing 26 centrally funded e-resources. Delcon is another consortia where mostly their focus area is life sciences. NKRC, National Knowledge Consortia, which includes CSR labs and DST labs. Together, they provide some of the resources to these labs. This is again one of the consortia which has been running from last 10 to 12 years. Again, in last few years, Delcon or NKRC, they have been reducing or been stagnant about adding any of the new publishers. AMED, which is the National Medical Library Electronic Medicine Consortia, which provides access to 76 institutions, only 5 resources, and they have not been adding any new resources in last few years. They have their internal own issues about the funding and administrative issues, though we are with them for 2022 and looking forward to some of our proposals which are in discussion phase with them. Earlier, they used to have 90 institutions. Now they have reduced to 76 institutions. DRDO and ISRO. These are the very focused, technical, and space-related organization where they have few resources selected by them and providing access to their labs in India. SERA is a consortia which is focused on a consortia for agriculture studies. Now, if we look at it, it is a bit stagnant in last 3 years or 4 years. They have not been adding any resources. So bit of an internal administrative issues as well and the budget issues as well. So we have this consortia and a talk and moving to from national consortia to state consortia. So we have state consortia in India. I have listed few of them, but there are few others as well. Now, these consortia again are unstable because they completely depends on the state or the internal authorities in the state funding, and they also gather a funding from their end users. So if they have the funding, they ask publishers for a negotiation and discussion, and the selection committee get some resources in that. Again, their continuity is again remains a question mark. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, these are the 2 other countries in Indian subcontinent. They also have their own consortia, which has been run by University Grants Commission. Both this country comes under the Hinari World Bank projects, wherein publishers provides e-resources free to them. Though not all, but some of them have reduced free access to these countries in recent couple of years. We have seen that. Mostly, if they have the resources from publishers, what they are doing? They are opting for ebooks. Ebooks from 8 publishers in Bangladesh consortia, they have already opted. And we have been in discussion with them for a couple of our publishers' ebooks, though the process remains very slow there. Sri Lanka, again, they heavily depend on the World Bank funding always for any of the development, especially in education. So we have a couple of trials going on in Sri Lanka as well, and we look forward to their update and feedback in next 3 to 4 months. Now, all national and consortia, they have been run by various authorities, they have been run by various committees, and the funding always goes to them as per the budget allocation from the ministry or the respective authorities. So we have been talking a lot about ONUS, One Nation, One Subscription Plan, from last couple of years. It was been discussed earlier, and the article was also came in 2022 early. ONUS was been a part of new education policy, which was been declared and approved by the government of India in 2019. So it is a documented plan and a bigger projects from the government side. Though since the pandemic started in 2020 early in India, things have been very stagnant. It's been slow and things are delayed from the project end. Whether it is the implementation of new education policy, whether it is the implementation of ONUS plan, or whether it is the implementation of any other bigger projects relating to education sector in India. And after following with them, we are trying to find out what exactly their plan will be. Looking forward to them following with the authorities and getting a feedback from the publishers and the ministry. We found that in last few months, there is some moments there. They have been calling and they have been initially discussing with few of the publishers. Even the bigger publishers, they have approached them and they are trying to understand how they can coordinate and incorporate their resources in the bigger projects like ONUS in India. Even this project is coming from the ministry, and we have some substance to talk about because it is also coming from Prime Minister's office. If it is there, we feel that though slow, the things will move on. And in next few months, we see that some more information, I will say rather more concrete information, it will come. 2022 seems to be early there because it is always in a last quarter, and we feel that even if something happens, it may happen in early 2022 first quarter, and for few publishers to start with. Recently, we also have an update after our follow-up that they have included one of the senior members or Ishot Sindhu, whom have the bigger infrastructure. They have the expertise to run the bigger project. They have also been involved. So this is good for all the publishers where they have their resources subscribed in Ishot Sindhu consortia, because these are the resources wherein they will be called first for a discussion for ONUS plan. If it happens, that will be good for all the resources and the publishers there to get an immediate start somewhere. Even if it doesn't happen, few of the publishers got subscribed, maybe like all the 3-4 bigger publishers, which always eats into 70 to 80% of the overall library budgets. But for us, it is always a win-win situation. I see in that way. We feel analyze in that way. The budget left over with the universities, institutions in India, they will try to get a quality resources like our society publishers and press publishers. And even if we have been called for any of the ONUS plan and their incorporation, how we can do with them, it will be good for us. So in both the ways, we find that it is a positive aspect for us in coming future. It is always like a timeline when we talk about how it will work, how it will be unpredictable situation, political situation goes on in India. We see that 2022, again, as I said, it will be too early, but 2023, definitely there will be some more updates, rather more inclusion towards the ONUS bigger plan. General elections to India are been scheduled in 2024. And before that, definitely government will try to advertise something in education sector as well as their achievement. We have seen that in last couple of years, how these people do. So we feel timelines in next 6 months, 3 months to 6 months, will definitely have more proper updates, more concrete updates, and more interaction with the authorities and the involved people there. The budgets and the other things have been very tight. It has been very secretive, rather it has been tight-lipped about how the things will work. They have been just analyzing and gradually talking to some of the publishers. I have given the article there, which provides some of the information which was been written in 2020 early. So this will also help. We have already sent this to few of our publishers. Again, we'll be doing it and I'll be sending it to them. This is something which are the developments in India happening in last 6 months to 1 year. And this provides me an opportunity to answer all of your questions. I'll be very happy to take them all. Please type in your chat boxes. Email me back. I'll be very glad to answer all of your queries. Thank you so much. And everyone, have a good day to all. Over to you, Dev.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Yogesh. Just to let everyone know, Rakesh and Paul, we have posted some of those links, useful links to the chat box. So please, you can find them there.
Hi everyone, my name is.
And with that, we are moving on to the Q&A. Thank you very much to all the speakers. I would like to invite everyone to turn on their mics and their videos. And thank you to the audience for all the questions. And I will start asking now. Let me ask with our dear guest, Paula. Paula, if you are ready for the first question. Many publishers are now offering read and publish deals. Is your institution looking at transformative deals? And do you think faculty and researchers at your institution are aware of the new trends in open access? Hello, Paula, we can now see you. I'm wondering if you heard the question. I think you may be on mute now. Maybe you can unmute yourself at the top of the screen. There should be a small red microphone at the top, probably saying off. Although you used to, yeah, okay, now now should be fine. Unfortunately, we cannot hear you, Paula. I will let our colleagues help you with the audio and move on to a question to Anouk. The Latin American market is dominated by Brazil and Mexico. How does the Chile market fit into the picture in terms of growth potential?
Okay, yes, thank you, David. Well, of course, Mexico and Brazil are the two large countries and the largest markets in the Latin American territory. There we have the two large consortia. Most publishers will be aware of the CAPES and CONRECIT consortia in those two countries that are really dominating the whole territory as for growth potential. But Chile is a very interesting country for growth potential for publishers as well. It is not as large as Mexico and Brazil, but there is a considerable number of institutions, and the library budgets are usually very good. Some of the institutions in Chile have been affected by the pandemic in their budgets. Some have seen budget cuts, but other institutions have actually been investing more, adapting to a digital environment, as Paula also mentioned in her presentation. So it's really an interesting country for publishers to look at and to be in contact with the institutions there and look at the opportunities. There's an increasing number we are seeing of institutions in Chile that are evaluating new resources, asking for trials, for example, for information, just evaluating new resources to see if they can add to their collections. And also with the example of University of Concepcion signing one of the first transformative agreements in Chile, I think that will be a great example for other institutions to see an increasing interest in that kind of deals as well in the country.
Marvelous. Thank you, Anouk. A question for Barish. You mentioned about the new government tax. Does this include subscriptions and any read and publish deals as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, everything the library purchases has to be go through this tax 18% plus 1% if it's in foreign currencies. So yes.
Mhm. And another one, I know Mr. Guinness mentioned about the ANCOS meeting moving to November this year. Do we know if next year in 2022 that's going to be November again, or is it going to go back to spring?
It was very controversial and it was a last minute kind of decision. So it's going to be November again next year. No April next year. So it's going to be in
Okay.
November.
All right, November again. Thank you very much, Barish. Erica, question for you. When will the second round for North America and China, the second round of the survey, begin? Do you have an insight into that?
Yeah, North America and China, they are a huge market in itself. So they require both a dedicated approach to the survey. So we will certainly follow up when we move forward with the second part of the research.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Thank you, Erica. Another one for you, maybe Simon may want to take that one. Compliment on the great data from the audience. Would like to know how we target the big budget holders when most of our engagement is through librarians.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I'm sure one that anyone with transformative deals or open access models are kind of not struggling with, but I think it's a very moving situation. Who holds the budget? Who are the people? Who are the decision makers? And that's obviously a crucial bit of information when it comes to actually selling, because there still is a sale to be done involved. So our experience is that libraries still are involved. It's very unusual for any of these decisions to not involve the library in some way. So going to the library and involving them at the beginning of the discussion is certainly still a very valid strategy. As I mentioned, I think things are changing. I think it's just my general experience that more and more libraries are being asked to be the custodians of the budgets. And I'd be interested to see over time whether the decision making moved away from the kind of the centralized procurement and deans into the library. That seems to be where I feel the economies would be. And I think the last thing to say is that certainly with our interactions with Accucoms, we don't just focus on the libraries anymore. We have to engage across the whole of an institution, whether it's with faculty members to get recommendations, whether it's with IT departments, because we're looking at kind of products and solutions now rather than just content. Obviously, the libraries are still very important, but as an organization, we've had to adapt and be able to approach multiple kind of decision makers and multiple points within institutions, and I'm sure that will continue as well. So,
Simon, one for you, Ben. Is the open access push in China focused on science and technology content, or also on the medical and humanities one?
Okay, I will try to answer the question because I'm just stay here on behalf of Ms. Zhao. We all know she is the expert in OA research. And as I know, it's in China, the OA is not only focused on S&T content, at least STM. You know, lots of authors will submit their articles to the OA medical journals. And as I know, one of the finance and economy university in Beijing, they also signed the transformative deal with one publisher. So I'm sure it's will high related to humanities and social science, but not only ST. I hope it. I explained. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Yogesh, a couple of questions for you. Would ONOS Consortium expect the access of selected resources to be provided to the entire nation or to only academic and research institutions funded by the government?
Yeah, an interesting question. Still a question mark for us also. the target subscribers or the target to whom the access will be provided, definitely it will be government institutions, government funded institutions, and some of the research institutions. So though it is a bit unclear how they will be budgeting, because when it comes to a research organizations, they have a very specific area of research wherein their content will be different from the universities or the other subject providing institutions in India, academic institutions. So I think this answers or this information definitely we will have in next few months if this discussion goes ahead. But the initial target will be government funded institutions, academic, and some of the research institutions they may include.
Okay, thank you, Yogesh. One more similar question to the one that we were asking Ben. How important will humanities and social sciences, so it's a little bit different area, how important will humanities and social sciences content be to the honors consortium, do you think?
Yes, Dave, if honors consortia select life sciences and technical products, definitely they will also have some of the social sciences products as well, or e-resources. It depends like how they will budget and how they will take all the resources in consortia, depending on the committee decisions also, and depending on the requirements of the overall consortia and the numbers coming there. This information again, once they start calling for an initial negotiations or discussion, we'll have more information about it. But definitely even humanities and social sciences content will be added to the consortia in coming future in honors plan. Yes, Dave.
Marvelous. Thank you very much, sir. Paula, can we try if your audio is working yet? It unfortunately does not seem to be. I'm not sure if anyone can hear Paula. Paula, anyway, thank you very much for joining. We'll ask you to answer the questions in writing, and then we'll post it for everyone to see. Sorry, everyone, for the small hiccup with the technology. I have one last question coming from the audience. I'm not sure who would like to take it. How can Accucoms help us increase open access submissions, where we have RMP, read and publish deals, and also in other markets?
Yeah, I can take that one. Thank you, Graham, for that question. So yes, I think that's a big challenge for any publisher that is embarking on read and publish deals and so, moving their journals to become fully open access over a period of time to become Plan S compliant. There needs to be an increase in the number of open access articles published year on year, and of course that means attracting good quality articles and not compromising in terms of quality. So I think it's becoming a bigger issue for publishers to really promote themselves in overseas markets, to increase the quality, not necessarily the quantity, because I know some publishers are overwhelmed with submissions, but certainly the quality of articles coming in. So Accucoms can help in a number of ways. I won't do the full advert spiel for what we can do, but obviously we've launched our author training services this year, where we are going into overseas markets, especially markets where English isn't the primary language, and we are talking to end users about publishers and their their mission and their brand, and hopefully that process will contribute in some small way to increasing the number of quality articles that publishers are receiving. And I think going forward, publishers really will have to focus a lot on that kind of winning the hearts and minds of overseas researchers, early career researchers, in order to generate an increase in submissions in some markets and an increase in quality in other areas. So that's some of the things that Accucoms can do for you or for other publishers who are interested, and happy to have those discussions.
Great, thank you, Simon. Well, thank you everyone for the questions. This concludes the Q&A session. So please feel free to jump out with the videos and the audios. And thank you for the answers. And before I hand over back to Simon for his concluding thoughts, I really would like to thank all the presenters once again, as well as all the people behind the scenes. Those who must not be named, as they probably would say in the Harry Potter series, as a lot of effort went into this. So thank you for the preparation of the presenters, as well as the people who help with the technology piece in this. As mentioned before at the beginning, we'll be posting this recording online, as well as the outstanding answers to the questions which have been posted. And many thanks to you, the people in the audience, our dear partners, for your questions, for the words of encouragement to the presenters and rest of the team. It really has been a great pleasure for me to be guiding you through this session. And with that, I would like to thank you, goodbye, and I will hand over to Simon.
Thanks, David, and the rest of the team. I will name check two people behind the scenes, Pulvi and Onko, who have been pressing the buttons and doing the magic behind the scenes. So I just wanted to make sure that they were recognised. There's quite a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. Hopefully, as David says, we've been able to answer most of the questions. If anything else crops up, please feel free to email us and let us know. You can of course set up meetings with your local teams and representatives. And again, I emphasize we'll send a list of those so you know who to contact. So we are thinking of coming over to Washington next spring. And having a publisher meeting there, and we'll keep everyone informed of our plans as that develops. I'm aware that international travel is still difficult, so we thought we would come over and see everyone in the US next year. So hopefully we can get that off the ground. And I just wanted to end, as always, just to say that we have one other great tradition at the Frankfurt Book Fair. And that's our usual beer fest event. And again, for the second year, we're unable to raise a glass with you. So we thought we'd put some pictures of people enjoying beer for you. And I just wanted to say cheers from all the Accicomms team. Thanks for your support, and really look forward to seeing you in person as soon as humanly possible. I think we all need it, that human interaction. So thanks very much. Thanks for listening. And yeah, goodbye.